Hey team, I'm here with the esteemed Rob McLeod of Renew, one of the individuals who's been spearheading the campaign that has brought together a whole bunch of organisations around a really important upgrade to the National Construction Code. Some of you will have seen in your feeds that a whole bunch of us came together last week to underline how crucial it is that when energy ministers meet, as they will very shortly, that they back in this upgrade. They back in this upgrade, taking the minimum star rating for new buildings in this nation from 6 stars as it is now to 7 stars. So Rob, why have you and Renew and all of these other organisations been investing so much time to make sure this happens?
Look, it's an important one. It's an opportunity that doesn't come along all that often. It's been over a decade since new home standards were upgraded when it comes to energy efficiency in Australia, and we're falling behind a long way. So this is a really key opportunity that we've got right now to get a win on the board and to reduce the amount of energy that homes need to heat and cool, to reduce our carbon emissions, to reduce household energy bills. There's lots and lots of reasons why this would be a really good thing to get over the line.
And I guess, at a moment in which affordability is kind of, such a critical issue for householders, in some ways the timing couldn't be better to underline how crucial these basic minimum performance standards are to secure those cost of living benefits. And you've done some work at Renew in terms of what the net benefit is in terms of households. There's sometimes a little bit more expense in terms of the higher rating, but that is more than made up for in terms of their ongoing bills, right?
That's absolutely right. This is a really good response to cost of living pressures. We know that energy prices are rising. We don't think that's going to go away over the next couple of years. Australia needs to get renewables online to bring down those energy prices as fast as we can, and that will happen, but households are still going to be feeling the pinch for quite a while to come. Energy efficiency is a response to that, and it is a way of making sure that the pressures that energy bills bring on get reduced. Now, we've done the numbers on this particular change to the National Construction Code, so lifting ratings from 6 to 7 stars and also introducing an energy budget.
Yep.
We found that, there is an upfront cost to the build. So for a detached home, that might be $1,000 to $2,000 according to the government's figures, and $500 for apartments. But when you compare the ongoing energy bill savings, it's far outweighed. And really critically, even if you take that entire upfront cost and add it to your mortgage and pay off that over time with monthly repayments, the amount of money that you save on your energy bills with these changes is higher than that monthly mortgage repayment additional amount. So it means that from the very first moment that a household moves into a new home and starts paying their bills, you're better off. You've got more money in your pocket. So it is a win for cost of living, which is another really, really important reason why we need to get this done now.
And I suppose, we've got a building ministers meeting coming up, but we've just had an energy ministers meeting, and they've been reflecting on the cost of transition network upgrades that are going to need to take place. And one of the other big benefits of this sort of reform is it takes pressure off the grid and means that we don't need to spend as much on network augmentation. Right?
That's absolutely right. And, particularly at those peak times. So, there are times. It's at those peak times of household use that you really need to reduce that energy, and it will take pressure off the grid. And looking at the numbers that have been done by Climate Works and ASPEC in the past, they found that it would save about $12.6 billion in cost to 2050 for energy network upgrades, just doing this one thing alone. So it makes the broader transition to renewables that we've got underway faster and cheaper.
And that's before you even get to the carbon emissions, right? There's a cost imperative here that, what's top of mind for policymakers and the general public here in August 2022. It's managing energy costs, but it's also doing that in a way that doesn't get in the way of our transition to net zero emissions. And this is a big step forward in terms of the role that new buildings are playing in that broader journey to a low emissions economy.
That's absolutely right. This one decision alone based again on those numbers that Climateworks done, but also government numbers, would reduce our emissions out to 2030 by about 15 million tonnes. So that's a substantial amount, and and the longer these homes will stand for decades, so those savings carry on building over the course of the lifetime of those homes. Look, we're having a conversation nationally about targets for our emissions reductions.
Yep.
And I think the theory that underpins that often is that once you set the target, then all of these decisions in all of the different areas are going to build towards that. They're going to take that into account. Well,
Yep.
I think this is a pretty good test for that.
Yep.
I think what we want to see is those targets feeding into decisions exactly like this about how we do things concretely on the ground. And I think over the next couple of weeks we'll see whether that's actually playing out in the way that it should.
Yeah, it's such a fantastic point, Rob. So I was just back at the office and I was looking at the Consequential Amendments Bill that sits alongside the Climate Change Act. Well, that's how I spend my spare time. But the point is, it is taking kind of that high level ambition embedded in the Climate Change Act 2022 and kind of operationalising it in a whole bunch of legislation. The ARENA, CFC. The legislation that sits around the Commercial Building Disclosure Program. And the premise is, yes, we've got this target, but it's actually got to drive decision making, right? And to your point, the way that we set up the construction code, the goals that the construction code has is one really significant driver for the load that is on the system moving forward and the efficiency of that load. And so, if we can take a small step forward with the National Construction Code, that'll at least ensure that our new building is on a reasonable trajectory. And then we've got a great task, I suppose, in fixing all the existing buildings that are a long way from being prepared for a net zero future.
Look, that's right. We know that about half of the buildings that are standing in 2050 haven't been built yet. So doing this now for new buildings is really, really critical. But yes, you are right. There are still standing buildings which perform worse than new buildings at the moment. There's still so much that needs to be done. And there's a big project of work for governments, but for industry, for all of us to be lifting up the standard of Australian homes. There's a long way to go.
Yeah. Well, look, Rob, again, congratulations for your work. I can speak for the Energy Efficiency Council. From our perspective, it would be sort of crazy if this move wasn't taken at this particular moment, given the drivers we've been talking about it, given the climate imperative, given the affordability imperative, given how much work the Australian Building Codes Board and so many stakeholders have done over so many years to get to this moment, this milestone. And I'm feeling confident that building ministers are going to heed the call.
I think so. Look, there is massive support for this. We're seeing it. We're getting a response to this that we haven't seen on many things over the years, and I hope that building ministers will be seeing that as well, because not only is there a really strong case for it on all of these many reasons, but there's also this huge level of support, and I hope that they are seeing that.
Well, good on you. Good on the other organisations that have been really leading the charge on this. The Property Council Australia, the Green Building Council, Australian Sustainable Built Environment Council. I won't list them all. I think there's 100 or so logos on that release.
105 on there, and Energy Efficiency Council has also been a really key part of this as well. So
it's been an absolute joint effort. We've just got to get that last little bit done now. So over to you, building ministers. We'll be watching with interest what you decide in a week or so. But in the meantime, Rob, hey, thanks for coming and having a stroll and explaining why this is so important.
I get to come out to the park at lunchtime now with you, Luke. This is good.
We can make it a regular date, mate. That sounds good. Cheers.
Right, cheers. Okay.